Last month, I made 2 calls on this show. One about condos, one about homes. On condos, I said that the buyers who had been circling all spring were finally about ready to land. On homes, I said the party was about to quiet down. Well, now we have July, and I'll tell you right up front, one of those calls, I nailed it. The other, condos didn't just land, they dug in. But the number that actually stopped me this month wasn't sales, it's not even price. It's the gap in between the two. Stick around, we'll get into it. Aloha, I'm Lahaina Lee, and welcome to the Maui Real Estate Advisor podcast, where we talk about buying, selling, and investing in Maui real estate. Today, it's all about the numbers. Condos, homes, and land, and what July's data means to you, whether you're buying, selling, or just keeping track. One quick note before we dig in. If you want the zoning picture, specifically Bill 88, and what that does or does not mean to condo owners, we already broke that down in a recent episode and blog. The link is in the description. Today, we're going to stay on the market. Let's do the numbers. Condos first, as always. 81 condos closed in July. That's down a hair from June's 88, but June was the best month in 2 years. So calling 81 a letdown is like standing under a loaded mango tree in July and grumbling that, oh, this is only the second best crop in years. The trailing 12-month average is about 63 sales a month. So July ran roughly 28% above the normal pace, and it was the second strongest month in the past year. Here's why that matters more than the raw number. Last month, you could have reasonably wondered whether June was just a backlog of escrows all clearing at one time. 2 big months in a row makes that a little bit harder to believe. The buyers didn't just show up for a month and leave, they stayed. Now check out the pending sales. The pipeline still has water in it. Pending sales came in at 107. That's down from June's 114 and May's 121, but comfortably above the 12-month average of about only 98. So there's not another 88 sales in the tank probably, but there's also nothing that looks like the market is rolling over either. Now the number that really caught my eye wasn't sales, it was price. The median condo selling price climbed to $685,000, up from June's $625 and May's $597. Now, before anybody plants a flag, prices actually fell from April to May before they turned. So this is 2 months of gains off the May low, not some unbroken march towards higher prices. And I'm not going to stand here and call 597 the bottom because we've been doing this too long to pretend anybody spots the bottom in real time. But something has shifted. 2 months ago, we had heavy inventory, soft closings, and a median price under $600,000. Today, we have back-to-back strong sales months, a median $88,000 higher than that low price and the highest price since February, and 43 fewer condos on the market this month. Now that alone is not proof of a new bull market. It is evidence that buyers have found prices they can act on. And the average selling price agrees. It jumped to just over $1 million, the first reading over $1 million since March. When the median and the average climb together, that's usually demand broadening across the whole price ladder, not one lucky penthouse sale dragging the math around. And here's the part I really find most interesting. As the median sold price rose, the median asking price went the other way, slipping to $783.5. So the gap between what sellers ask and what buyers are actually willing to pay narrowed about $98,500. Last month, that gap was roughly $165,000. For most of the past year, buyers and sellers stood on opposite sides of the room, each waiting for the other one to move. Sellers moved, and buyers appeared to have answered. That's what price discovery actually looks like, not a bell going off at the bottom, but enough sellers deciding what they'll really take and enough buyers deciding that number makes it worth it. Inventory finally moved the right way too. Active condo listings fell to 870, down from 913. That's nearly a 5% drop in a single month, and it's the leanest count since last October. At July's sales pace, that pencils out to about a 10.7 months of supply. But let's look at that number a different, maybe more relevant way, because 81 sales is a hot month. If we looked at the 3-month pace, it's closer to 12 months of supply. And if we looked at the whole year, it looks more like 14. So let's not kid ourselves. This is still a buyer's market with plenty of condos for sale and buyers who still hold the choices. But 2 months ago, the same figure was up to nearly 18 months of supply. Now inventory is falling while sales are staying elevated. The buyer's market isn't over, but the capital B just got a little smaller again. One more interesting, maybe a little geeky wrinkle worth your time is that condos that sold in July averaged 154 days on the market. That's down from 171 in June. But the condos still sitting on the market averaged 179 days. That's a new high for the whole table. Now, I wouldn't read this as buyers sprinting after every fresh new listing, but it does tell us something useful about properties that are finding buyers, and they're moving faster than the inventory left behind. For sellers, that's close to the whole ballgame. There's no shortage of buyers for the right condo, but there may be a shortage of buyers for the wrong price, and price is the one thing a seller can fix. Now, the zoning question humming under all of this. Bill 88 is now law, and in early July, the county's first rezoning resolutions for a batch of Kihei and West Maui properties were sent to the Planning Commission. Nothing is rezoned. The deadlines put in place by Bill 9 are still there, and that clock is ticking. We already talked about what this does and does not mean for condo owners. It's the whole being on the list is not rezoned distinction, and we covered that in a recent pod and blog. The link is in the description, so we won't take time to relitigate that here. So here's the bottom line on condos. 2 strong months of closings. Inventory is at its leanest since October, and the median selling price is up 2 months running. And the asking to sold gap was cut nearly in half. Still a buyer's market? No question. But the number I'll be watching next month isn't price, it's inventory. If the number of listings keep falling while solds hold anywhere near here, we can stop talking about a 2-month bounce and start talking about the early makings of a trend. Now, single-family homes, where almost everything I said about condos needs flipping over. Last month, we hedged the way we sometimes do. We said that with home pendings at a 12-month low of 96, July closings would cool back towards the historic norm of about 60. Now, I don't say this often, so indulge me. I nailed it. July delivered just 54 closed home sales, down from June's 78 and right in the neighborhood that we called. The best sales month of the year, followed by one of the quieter ones. That's Maui's thin market doing what it does, lurching rather than gliding. And the price line lurched right along with it. June's median jumped to $1.356 million on a wave of luxury closings. July's fell to $1.165, lowest since November. And there were some luxury closings in there, I know, because I was lucky enough to have a couple of them. But that tells us even more about what's going on in the broader market, because that's a drop of almost $192,000 in a single month, roughly 14%. So did Maui homes shed 14% of their value in 30 days? Of course not. And that's exactly why I keep begging people not to price their home off of 1 month's median. Maui is a small market. Change the mix of what sells, especially at the top, and the median lurches right along with it. June probably made homes look stronger than they really were, and July makes them look a lot weaker. The truth? probably sits somewhere in the middle. Now, the average selling price told the same story, easing to 1.6 million, down from June's 1.85 million. The supply number needs the same context. At 465 active listings, home inventory ticked up to a fresh 12-month high. And at July's slower pace, that works out to be about 8.6 months of supply, up from June's 5.9. But before anyone panics, let's look underneath it. Inventory only went from 464 to 465. That's one house. The supply number jumped because closings fell, not because listings flooded in. Normalize the pace and it looks a lot calmer, about 7.3 months on a rolling 3-month basis and 7.9 for the year. Those probably describe the real market better than either June's 5.9 or July's 8.6 taken alone. And then there are the pendings, which is where it gets interesting again. They slipped to 96 in June, which is why we expected July to cool. It did. But in July, pendings bounced back to 112. That's a hair above the 12-month average of about 110. If July had handed us 54 closings and a drop in pendings, I'd be a lot more worried. Instead, this reads like a thin market being what a thin market is. One strong month, one soft month, with the property mix doing the rest. Now, I'm not going to promise you August roars back, because pendings are a preview, not a receipt. But 112 is not the shape of a market rolling over. Now, a couple of the slower details fit too. Days on market for active listings crept to 160. That's a new high. And on the asking side, the luxury end still is doing its slow, unhurried dance the way luxury does everything except drop price. So the bottom line on homes, June overstated the strength, July probably understates it. And the honest read probably sits right between the two. Closings cooled exactly as we warned. The median gave back June's luxury bump, and supply looks softer because sales fell. But with pendings back to 112, this looks more like a pause than a pivot. Let's see what those 112 pendings do. And now a quick word on land, as always. 7 vacant parcels closed in July against 209 active listings, which ties April for the most all year. The median sales price leapt from June's 309 all the way up to 628. Did Maui land double in price in 30 days? No, just 7 lots closed. That's land. Where the median sales price goes, well, it goes wherever a handful of closings happen to send it. It always stays that way, a thin, patient market measured in seasons, not months. Buyers with vision and a long fuse will still find sellers ready to talk story. Just don't try to draw a trend line with numbers that are this small. So, let's pull it together. July was the month the condo and home markets swapped roles. For most of the past year, homes were the steady part of the market, and condos carried uncertainty. This month, the direction of travel flipped. Condos gave us 2 unusually strong sales months. Falling inventory, median selling prices up a second month in a row, and the most telling, asking prices still drifting down while selling prices climbed. That is buyers and sellers inching toward agreement on what these things are actually worth. Homes handed us the opposite lesson. June's monster month and 1.36 million median looked powerful. July's 54 sales and 1.165 million median looked weak. Neither month tells the whole story, and that's exactly the point. Which brings me to the thing I say every month because it never stops being true. There is no single Maui real estate market. Homes and condos are moving in different directions right now. West Maui is not South Maui. A vacation rental condo is not a long-term residential one. And inside the very same building, the well-priced unit and the one still priced for a market that left town are having completely different summers. Our job isn't to tell you whether the Maui market is up or down. It's to help you read the small slice of it that actually touches you. So, condo buyers, you still have choices and real leverage, but 2 months of firming prices are a fair reminder that a good opportunity doesn't necessarily get better forever. Condo sellers, the market is rewarding realism, so bring some. And home buyers and sellers, don't let June or July's headline numbers fool you in either direction. This is a thin market where mix can make 1 month look nothing like the next. For condos, it is still a buyer's market, but the numbers lean to the same way 2 months running, and prices don't rise while inventory falls at the same time the ask to sold gap closes, just by luck. For homes, we're in between innings. We're waiting to see what 112 pendings tell us about which way August breaks. Either way, the same thing we said last month still holds. The most expensive thing you can do in a market like this is to wait without the right information. Thanks for tuning in. If you have comments or questions, drop them below or shoot an email to lee@alohapots.com. I answer every one. And if you like this episode, give us a like and maybe send it on to someone you know who's thinking about Maui. And if you haven't already, subscribe to make sure you don't miss anything. And if you or someone you know is thinking about buying, selling, or really just keeping track of Maui real estate, we've got a fabulous team of seasoned, well-trained professionals standing by to help you out. That's all for now. So, from the greatest island on earth, this is Lahaina Lee saying, aloha. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not intended as a recommendation to invest in real estate or any other financial asset. We are not financial planners, certified public accountants, or attorneys. You should consult with a qualified professional before making any financial, legal, or investment decisions. All investments carry risk, and past performance is not indicative of future results.